All right, guys. Fight commentary breakdowns, and this is on Fight Commentary Chats. We have Dave or David, and he is here to share his story. For those of you who follow Fight Commentary breakdowns, we've met him on Man of Stand Up, but he's had a long martial arts career. So let's talk about it. So, David, welcome.
Hey, Jerry, what's going on?
Yeah. So when I found the clips of you on Man of Stand Up, that was around the middle of your martial arts career, right? You were training before then too.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what that was. Basically, when you saw my fight, I was already training, but the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, my background is Goju Ryu Karate. It just what
Oh.
happened was I decided to study Bagua under Novell, and pretty much, he was telling me like, David, you can like compete in the tournament and then utilize the Bagua. But mind you, I was just learning that. And I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yo, Bell, I don't think this is a good idea because I just started, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
his whole thing with me was that he wanted me to get some type of experience using it. So basically that's what it was for me, just to get the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But other
Mm-hmm.
than that, I don't have any long years of training in kung fu,
Mm-hmm.
especially Bagua. I have more time training karate.
Mm-hmm.
Karate, I've been doing that since 1998, which around that time when I started with Sensei Rachel Rocky Rivera, and basically my sensei was teaching it to me as a gym class, and then it ended up becoming a big thing for me, like a more of a lifestyle change, so to speak.
I see. I see. I'm writing these names down as you're talking about them. So, when you were a kid, did you watch a lot of these like kung fu movies and stuff like that? Was that your upbringing? Tell me about how you stumbled
Oh,
on, karate, Goju Ryu Karate, and all that.
well, I'm gonna tell you, I've been around martial arts all my life because I mean, for starters, I have two older brothers. Both of
Mm,
them used to practice Shotokan, so I used to like go to their classes and I would watch them train, and that kind of inspired me to want to train. But the thing is, though, I didn't start taking martial arts till like 1995. The first style I've encountered first was Taekwondo. And the thing
mm.
is, I didn't like it too much, so I kind of just quit that after like few months. And then about a few years later, that's when I got into the Goju. But I've
I see.
always been, into martial arts. I've watched a lot of films. One of my biggest inspirations is Bruce Lee. I mean, he's the dude, kind of influenced me. And then Jackie Chan and Jet Li, but pretty much almost everything that's kung fu.
Yeah, that makes sense. So tell me about that first class you took in Goju Ryu Karate. What was your expectation? Did it fulfill your expectation? Tell me about that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I didn't know what to expect. All I knew was okay, at my high school, it was pretty much three gym classes, right? We had mixed gym, dance, and karate. And I think
Mm.
karate was a better fit for me because not for nothing, Jerry, I love to fight. And pretty much, I figured that suited my whole personality. And plus, I figured with karate, it would better my hand skills a little bit. But what I've learned through that is that it was much more than fighting. It was teaching me more about discipline, self control, and being able to be humble and have respect for others while
Wow.
learning how to defend myself.
Yeah. And was it common back then for schools in the area to offer karate? Like that's so interesting that you guys had a choice between like regular gym, mixed gym, and then
Hmm.
dance and karate. Like that's actually the first time I've ever heard of high school just offering karate as like a gym replacement almost. So tell me about that.
Well, the thing is, Jerry, my school was the only school at the time that was offering karate. Because you see, the school I went to, it was pretty brand new. And we were in a building where it was only two floors. So it was a very small school. Pretty much everybody knew everyone. And in order for us to do gym as a class, we have to either go outside or go into a certain area of building where we can do the gym courses. So in my case, karate was taught at the main building, but we was training, I think, on the fourth floor at that time. And then later on, we started training on the third floor because they used to move us around a lot.
I see. How many kids signed up for the karate class?
Well, it started with like, let me see, when I started with 40, and then the numbers went down because, to be honest, most people don't really want to do martial arts training because it's too much work. You know what I mean? Like doing the stances, sparring, and then the exercises that come with it is a whole lot.
I see. I see.
But I
Wow.
was
Again,
one of
this
the
is
many
this
that
I
stood with
this
it.
is why I love talking to people, Dave, because like just learning that there was a school that offered karate class. I wish my school had that, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, so it's like I stuck with it. I mean, I've gone as far with my sensei up to, let me see, second degree black belt. Then she had me go train with a Professor Cowboy in Vietnamese Jitsu, and I trained with him for a few years. And while doing Vietnamese Jitsu, I also trained with my homeboy Sensei Buddha in weapons. And then some years later, I ended up running into Novell. And the thing
Mm,
is, I met Novell through Jesse, who happens to be his partner that helped him run the Man Up Stand Up events. And the thing about that is, too, I didn't meet Jesse until like 2009, which around this time, me and Jesse was doing some type of movie production with our friend Chaz London, and pretty much Chaz had Jesse do the filming while he had me do the more fight choreography because he knew I knew karate. And the thing is, I didn't know Jesse trained at the time, right? So what happened was I saw Jesse playing a video where he's practicing with boxing gloves. So I asked Jess, like, hey, what is it that you do? Do boxing, kickboxing? And he was telling me Naiba, Bagua. And then my whole mindset, like, wait a minute, what the fuck is Bagua? And then the thing is, he explained it to me what it was, and then after that, like, I saw like Novell's face, and I said, okay, I know your teacher because I've seen Novell pretty much twice in my life. One time I saw Novell on BET's Iron Ring. I don't know if you know, he used to be, on TV. He was
mm,
like, the coach for the Dipset team. And
wow.
basically, the whole premise was that they had the rappers had the coaches, and then the coaches would train the MMA fighters. So I seen Novell for that. And then there was another time I seen Novell on YouTube where he was supposed to be in this martial arts challenge with between him and Sensei Mo, which
Mm,
that fight never got a chance to get started. But you guys know more about that. But
wow.
the long and short of it is, Jesse had me, meet Novell. I met Novell, and pretty much we was just collaborating on some movie stuff. And it came from doing the movie stuff to me coming down to the park to me coming down there sparring with them. I didn't come a student under Novell till like 3 years later.
Mm. What was the first few sparring sessions like? Did you have kind of notions of how they would spar versus how they actually sparred?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't have a clue on how they were sparring because you see in karate we utilize of closed fists and basic kicking techniques, but sparring against kung fu with them, I'm thinking like, okay, this is kung fu. They might use something a little more than a closed fist. But when I did spar with them, I got to see, okay, they're using piercing strikes, palms, and fists. And I'm gonna be honest, it was a little awkward for me, but I got a good feel for it, and it kind of gave me the experience that I needed.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. So when you did Man of Stand Up, I assume before that you had already competed in karate tournaments and stuff like that.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I did more than karate tournaments. I actually did kickboxing back in
Oh.
2006, so I have full contact experience. My first fight was in 2006. I know it was like this event that was ran by Wildcat Molina. And basically, he had me, fight against this guy that happened to be a student under I think Jonas Nunez. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was Jonas' student, and I sparred with the dude. Pretty much, we went like 3 rounds, and I could say I got a good experience out of that.
Wow. Wow. Tell me about that match if you remember. Like, what was your thoughts stepping in since it was like your first kickboxing match? Were you scared? Were you excited?
I'm gonna be honest, I was a little nervous. I ain't gonna lie, because when you're
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for a fight, Jerry, the adrenaline starts coming up, and the thing is, you're thinking about all the things you want to do, but once you get in there, for me, it kind of just went away. Once I just started doing what I needed to do, and once the dude, and I, touched hands, I got to see where he was at. He got to see where I was at. I mean, personally speaking, when I did spar with the guy, I felt like that, I kind of got robbed a bit because when this guy kicked me, he broke his leg. And they
Oh,
still had him keep fighting.
whoa. I
Well, not
see.
broke, sprain, I should say. Sprained his leg and they had him fighting. And I should have won that, but they
Mm-hmm.
still gave it to him anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so tell me about that day in Man of Stand Up. How was your when you were standing there, you saw your opponent, did you feel like because you were much smaller than him, right? So were you kind of a little scared of his size, or were you more like, nah, I can take him?
Nah, to be honest with you, I wasn't scared to fight Kevin. I'm going to tell you what happened. I
Mm-hmm.
came in there tired, bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Novell, he had me do all this training that I was doing for 4 months. And the
Mm-hmm.
type of training I was doing was so intense that I was exhausted, you know what I mean? But the day before the match, I had to work security because at the time I was doing a bouncing work. So I was working from 9 to 4 a.m. And then before that, I believe I was training with Novell. So he had me do some extra training before I went to work. So by the time I got you doing all of that, I was already tired. I already had 2, 3 hours of sleep. So,
Wow.
so I came in there with no energy, bottom line. So it was a handicap to begin with. And then on top of that, I'm transitioning from karate into kung fu, especially bagua in particular. So since I don't understand the premise of it or the science of it, I couldn't really utilize it the way I wanted to use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see.
So
Now,
I had a handicap all
yeah,
together.
exactly. And I guess the follow-up question to that is, were there other opponents that you could have fought that day, or was our man that you did end up fighting the only opponent selected for you?
Well, this is a thing. In man up stand up, when it wasn't around, you go according to weight class. You know what I mean? So basically, like for example, William H. Cavalli, when he was, competing in our tournament, he was between, I think, light to welterweight. And then we had DJ who was kind of like light heavyweight. And then in my case, I was heavyweight, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
see, Kevin was the only one there that was heavyweight, which in my opinion
Mm,
was super heavyweight, you know what I mean? So he was much bigger than I was. But
yeah.
still, size don't mean nothing, you know what I mean? You still gotta do what you gotta do. But when I sparred with him, my whole mindset was I just want to get this over with because I was tired. I wanted to sleep. I had no energy, bro. None.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. 2 hours. I mean, sleep's one of the biggest things, right? Wow. And you only had 2 hours of sleep. Wow.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, too, I've had experience fighting boxers. So I kind of knew what I needed to do because I knew with him, I could not allow him to use his hands because I know if he uses his hands, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
That's why if you see in the video that I was clinching
Yeah.
against him because I knew if I like clinched him, I could at least stop him midway. And then the thing I was really trying to do was clinch him while hit him, but it didn't turn out the way that I planned it in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, was that the only man of stand-up event you did, or did you do other ones too?
No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you too. I
Mm-hmm.
fought more times than that. Cause see, my first fight was with my boy Jesse. And how that happened was Jesse sent me a challenge video telling me, that he's gonna utilize Mantis to beat me. So I said, "Oh, okay, Jess." So I looked at the video and I said, "Okay, he's doing some fancy stuff." So I pretty much trained on my own. And then once I got through training on my own for a few months, I mean, I did some sparring with some of Novell students because Novell kind of gave me, some people to work with. The day of the event, I know I sparred with Jess. We went 3 rounds. I know first round, I won that. Second round, he won that. And then third round, I won it. I won it by knocking him out the ring. Even though to
Wow.
this day, we joke about it, but he talked about to this day that I pushed him out. But if you ever see the video, he got punched out.
Wow.
But the thing is, though, with that first fight, it never got posted on YouTube.
Oh.
So you might not find it.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, unfortunately, the Man Up stand-up channel that Novell had. So Novell's second channel that was just dedicated to Man of Stand, that channel got deleted. So a lot of the archive got lost.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of it, like the back stuff, you're not gonna be able to find unless somebody posts it up. And then after I fought my boy Jess, I fought this guy named Jason who did I think Singy Dao, which also with him, I fought, I think, what is it? I think I beat him around the third round because I think we went 3 rounds. And in his case, I kind of like caught him in the ribs and he got winded and he just quit after.
Wow.
And then after that, I wasn't thinking about no goddamn fight. You know what I mean? I was thinking about just taking time to do other things because you see, Jerry, I was going to school during this time as well.
Oh.
I was more focused on school.
Yeah, makes sense. And in fact, now that you mention it, I have seen the one where you fought the Xingyi guy. Exactly. Like I remember that match now. Now I put 2 and 2 together because the way Novell titled it, he in the one where you fought the Xingyi guy, he called you Goju Karate, right? Which is the style you did. So it's like it was confusing because
he gets it wrong sometimes. So
yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, that makes sense now. So now I've seen the 2 matches of yours that are still on YouTube. Okay, there we go. Now I put 2 and 2 together because I was like, I remember that Xingyi Dao one. Okay, that makes sense. So that was before your match against the boxer. That was before your match against Kevin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think Kevin, what was it? I know that dude Jason was 2012. Mm-hmm. Kevin, I would say like a year or 2 later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is how that fight came about was like back then we was on Facebook in this, group called Man Up Stand Up. And basically everybody from that group was in there, either the competitors or the instructors. We were all there, having martial talks and whatnot. I know me and this dude Kevin, we was talking about sparring and our philosophy about sparring. Like he was talking from a boxer's perspective, I was talking from a karate perspective. And what happened was Novell came from the sideline saying you two should spar. You know what I mean? Just to show what it is you talking about. And I'm gonna be honest, I ain't entertained it at first. And then somehow, some type of way, talked me into it. And then you got Kevin involved as well, too. But the thing is, me and him don't have no beef or anything like that. We was just 2, brothers politicking about what martial arts or any type of sparring was about.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So, I mean, it's also awesome that you were going to school and then you kind of said, okay, let's focus on the school for now. So after you finished school, did you continue in martial arts training? Tell me about that.
Well, the thing is, Jerry, I've always practiced. I mean, I practice for the most part just to maintain my health. As far as like competition or anything like that, I haven't done any competition in some time. The last, I think, competition I did do was 2017, and that's when I did like a forms division in the what is it? Singy ring. So that's the last time I did a tournament.
I see. Yeah. So it's exactly, I like what you said, because for depending on what people want to get out of martial arts, right? At the least, it helps you maintain your health, and it's okay to practice for just maintaining your health. Like right now, I took a break from training, so like when I'm going back into training, I'm of course gonna first just get my body back, right? I'm not gonna start sparring immediately. So yeah, it's a and that's the thing, I think, why I like doing these interviews, because everyone's journey is different. And there's no
Mhm.
one way or one goal either for doing your martial arts. Like not everyone has to fight in the ring, or not everyone has to become a cage fighter. It's like you do it for what works for you. And you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would do a cage fight. It's just that I'm being realistic. I know I'm well, I'm 40 now,
Oh, wow.
We turned 41 this year. In
Hmm.
order for me to do a cage fight, I'll have to be 20 years younger.
Yeah.
Not for nothing. It's nothing but young lions in there. Unless you got like very good health and good stamina, you should not be in the cage, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the way they are, they come in for blood, and it's like, and if you can't deal with that, you shouldn't be there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's a reality that I think, especially sometimes when I don't go to bars much, but sometimes I'm in a bar and I see people just casually watching UFC and stuff like that. And some of those people, some of those comments they make, I'm like, you don't know how much blood, sweat, and tears it takes to get to that point. So it's always like
Mhm.
when you watch a match, it's always good to be like, okay, all right, like just celebrate the fact that they got in there, right? That's something that a lot of times that's a nuance that people kind of forget.
Right, right. And there's a lot of work that goes into just any type of sport and event, especially full contact fighting. Because I mean, full contact fight, you got to be very disciplined. You got to eat, sleep, and shit full contact
Yeah,
fighting.
yeah,
And you also got to watch your diet too. You can't just eat whatever you want and you train. And I mean, because for the most part, from my own experience, you got to try to make weight. And if you don't make weight, then you're not going to be able to do what you need to do.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So, you're still in the New York area, right?
Yes, I'm still
Hmm.
in New York.
Hmm. How is the martial arts community there? I assume, like, I mean, New York being the number one city in America, it's got so much variety, right?
Mhm. Well, yeah, we have a lot of variety, but I would say for the most part, everywhere you go, there's a martial arts school, but predominantly we have mostly karate and MMA, which I know they got an MMA school all the way on Canal Street, which is pretty, popular out here. And to be honest with you, Jerry, we didn't start getting MMA schools till like somewhere like mid to maybe early 2000s because New York City was a bitch about not allowing us to have an MMA school, let alone a tournament out here. Which is why with Man Up Stand Up, you see us, kind of like competing in locations where no one can really find us doing
Yeah, yeah,
doing that. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah. I remember when New York first finally legalized MMA, and then the UFC finally was able to hold an event in New York City. And it's like, wow, after all these years, finally, I remember. And when I talked to Novell a few years ago, we were kind of talking about that too. Kind of like, okay, like Novell did something special, which is he gave so many people the opportunity to really test out their skills in a non-kickboxing way, right? It can go to the ground for a little bit. So he was really doing something really good for the martial arts community. And yeah, the level of people, the different types of people who go in there and test themselves, it's just something amazing.
And I'm gonna tell you too, like Man Up Stand Up for me gave me the platform that I needed to be on because not for nothing, I was one of those people that I wanted to do more than just do, basic point fighting and being in tournaments where I feel like I'm getting cheated. I don't know if you ever competed in any type of like point fighting events, but like when I used to compete in those, I was always in rings where the judges either don't see what you're doing or they act like they don't see what you're doing. And then you end up hello?
Yes, you hear?
Yeah,
Can you see me? Yeah.
yeah, you froze.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you.
So like the judges will act like okay, they didn't see what you're doing. So what they end up doing is they'll give the points to whoever they feel was better, and then you ended up getting robbed out of $40 or $50. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
and plus on top of that too, I feel like the point fighting scene doesn't give you that reality that you need compared to like full contact events. So I knew for me I needed a little bit more of a challenge because I'm somebody that's not afraid to get in there and do what needs to be done. Because I mean, beyond martial arts, I don't had real fights before. I don't have so many fights that I was in situations where people have jumped me, and I
Wow.
would had to, literally defend myself, which
Wow.
I also have that type of experience as well.
Yeah, exactly. And with some of those experiences, I assume your martial arts training helped you a lot, right?
No, it did
Mhm.
because I mean, not for nothing, it helped me to identify how I should go about protecting myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it also taught me like the pros and cons of what to do and what not to do. See, the thing is to be good at fighting, you have to fight. And you gotta take a loss. You know what I mean? And even though you lose, losing is not losing. Losing to me is learning.
Yeah.
You need to learn what it is that you need to work on so you can be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said it the best, man. You can, if you let your ego go and you just learn from losses, some of those are the best lessons.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, most people, I'll tell you right now, don't want to put work in. They want everything handed to them, but they don't want to put no work in. And so that being said, if you have somebody that be like, yeah, I want to train martial arts, but they don't want to do the workout that's required. They don't want to even get in there and mix it up, but they want to be recognized as some high-end fighter though. And to be that, you got to put work in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny analogy because where I live, there's a lot of fitness kickboxing, fitness boxing gyms where it's like it's just for people who want to like break a sweat a little bit and not even really care about their technique. Of course, no sparring, and they want to feel like, oh yeah, I'm doing something right. And for people like you and I or anyone who's sparred, who's taken a hit, it's just that's such an insult. But you also kind of understand where they're coming at. It sucks to take a hit. It sucks to be like, oh, there's a weakness in my defense. I gotta fix it. Or I don't strike well. I gotta fix it. Right. So like it's like you said, our society, not always, but it's increasingly, it's always trying to hand things to people just to make them feel like, oh yeah, 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 participation trophy. And that's not necessarily good. And we see
Mhm.
that in different ways in my area, all the fitness boxing, fitness kickboxing gyms.
So Jerry, where are you from? You from like West Coast, right?
Yeah, so I live in Los Angeles. I live in Santa Monica,
Okay.
which is in LA County. And so, yeah, Santa Monica, basically, there's only one boxing gym here. All the other gyms are boxing and fitness or fitness boxing.
And you know what's funny too? I'm glad you said that because I'm gonna assume they teach you like the mechanics of boxing, but no sparring, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what my argument is when I hear people, when I think not here, when I read people's comments online, especially YouTube, they'll be like, okay, what people should take a boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or Jiu-Jitsu, or whatever. But and my thing is, you could take whatever you like, right? But if they're not teaching you how to spar with it, it means nothing. Like you
Exactly.
could learn, let's say, Muay Thai techniques, but if you're not sparring, what good is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my argument to those that's like pro MMA this, pro MMA that, which MMA, in my opinion, is just a mixture of different martial arts. But for the non, martial art practitioners, I just say MMA to make things clear because that's what most people know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Realizing that it's just a conglomerate of different styles that people practice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the I had a friend who he trained Muay Thai and boxing, and then he got hired at one of these fitness kickboxing gyms, right?
Hmm.
And he was actually, because they're not sparring, he was trying to at least make their techniques when they hit the bag good. And
Yeah,
he got reported and fired because he was being too harsh on the students.
yeah, and that's the thing that we living in a soft society right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I mean, people are not built for the real stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And the thing is, my whole thing is, what if, let's say, I don't know, America becomes like the other countries, like I don't know, Afghanistan or what's that other country that's going through Palestine or any of those places, right? Those places got to be on alert 24/7. So they're constantly fighting just so they can survive and live another day. So my whole thing is, if you're not willing to deal with the real, then the real is going to deal with you.
Yes. Yes. I
So,
love
you
what you
know,
said.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I'm always thinking about how am I going to survive? You know what I mean? I don't know where you from in community wise. Me, I live in an urban community, and in New York, in general, there's nothing but like areas you can go to where you can find nothing but individuals that participate in illegal activity, so to
Mhm.
speak. Not saying everybody in New York is into some criminal shit now, but it's just depending on where you go in New York City, you're gonna find something about someone being involved in something. And I know for me, I live in the projects, so I gotta constantly be on point. Even though my projects ain't as bad as it used to be, but I still gotta be on point
Yeah. Yeah.
because you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny. So Santa Monica used to be known as like a really yuppie, really fancy city, right? Now, the funny thing about Santa Monica is that when the 2020 hit, the city changed a lot. The city changed a lot to the point where now it's not the same as before. Like people who go out past a certain time of night have to keep their head on a swivel. So basically, people in Santa Monica and in a lot of parts of LA are kind of starting to realize some of the realities, some of the truths of living in the city that they previously could ignore. So it used to be living in Santa Monica, you can walk your dog whenever, right? But now most people aren't walking their dogs past 11 anymore. And it's like it's exactly like you said, if you don't prepare yourself, it's going to come to you. I like how you said it better than me, but now it's like people in Santa Monica are like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what's going on?" Like, homeless people everywhere. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. And then I used to be, because I studied martial arts so many years, I used to always tell my friends, I'd be like, you gotta just, no matter where you are, even if you feel safe, you gotta occasionally be paying attention to your surroundings, right? And they're like, Jerry, man, you don't have to be paranoid. I'm like, it's not being paranoid. It's called being realistic.
And Jerry, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm around, certain people, good friends of mine that will say, hey, why are you being so paranoid? And it's not that you're being paranoid, you're being proactive
Yes.
because you don't know what may come your way. So, from a martial arts mindset, you always got to be 10 steps ahead. So you got to always be on a lookout for the what if.
Yeah.
Because again, like you said, there's crazy people in the community, and you don't know what people mindsets are. I mean, not too long ago, there was a situation where there was a female, right? She was approached by this one guy. The one guy wanted to get her phone number, right? She told him no. So he ended up jumping her with like two other dudes. And because she was not prepared for that, she ended up getting assaulted. And this happened right out here in Harlem, too.
Yeah. Even the other day in Santa Monica, right? A pretty famous music producer, he was just singing in his car and he got shot. And
Hmm.
it happens. Like, I don't think he ever thought that it would happen in Santa Monica. But one, Santa Monica's changed, and two, like, you go to whatever, it could be the richest neighborhood, sometimes like they get robbed. Like, you have to always be proactive. I love that word, David. I'm gonna borrow that word from you in the future. If people ever be like, Jerry, why are you being paranoid? I'm like, no, it's called being proactive, because you never
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, see, the thing is, I've been around long enough to know, okay, this is what I need to look for. See, I got a mixture of my own personal experiences, having real fights, also competing in tournaments, and I also used to bounce. I used to bounce at high profile clubs. And some of the clubs I used to work at, you had to wear bulletproof vests and you might have to have a baton stick on you. You're not supposed to have it, but sometimes you can't rely on police to protect you. So you got to protect yourself.
Yeah, dude, let's talk a little bit about your bouncing experience. Like, that's some really good self-defense lessons. Like, was it like every night you bounced that someone would try to get in your face, or was it occasionally?
I'm going to tell you what it is. It depended on where I was at. If I was working, let's say, like hip hop parties, that was definitely expected of me to fight. But see, the good thing about me is I know how to de-escalate before it gets to that point. But there was a situation one time where there was a guy who smacked the bartender, right? So I kind of came up behind him, put him in a lock. Soon as I dragged him out, I kind of just threw him out front, and then of course my coworkers beat the shit out of him. But I ain't stick around for that. And that was one situation I was in. And then there was another situation I was in where we had like a big fight that took place over in the Bronx. And this was like some type of hip hop party they had going on where they had groups performing on stage. They had one group performing while the other group was waiting to perform. The group that was waiting to perform attacked the guys that were performing. And once one of them threw blows, that's when the lights went dark. So pretty much I had to, find a spot where I can be at to make sure that no one hits me. So everybody pretty much was on the dance floor fighting. And then once the lights came on, my supervisor pulled out the pepper spray because he had a big can of bear mace and he sprayed everybody. So my eyes were burning like crazy.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah. But that pepper spray
get out
kept
there.
everyone under control, right? That pepper spray did get everyone to finally stop
Yeah,
fighting.
it
Yeah.
sure did. Everybody ran like roaches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Serious.
Yeah. Wow. One of the guys who helps me with my channel, he had an incident where, again, talking about de-escalation, right? They were at a club and, it was with a group of other people. And then I guess words were exchanged. Now, if words are exchanged, that's the first time you can de-escalate, right? But it didn't de-escalate. So one of his friends got punched. So then he went and punched. And then, they all got jumped and he got his nose broken. So, like, you talk about de-escalation, you think about moments like that. It's like there were so many places they could have de-escalated. Like, I've been in situations in college where someone even pushed me. I was like, okay, you pushed me. It didn't do any harm. And I didn't fight because it's like, why? I'm not gonna, like, that one time the guy really pushed me. It was like really like six big white guys. What am I gonna do? Fight
Mm-hmm.
six big white guys? It's like, okay, you push me. I kind of laugh. I'm like, okay, you pushed me. That's funny. And then I just kept going, So
Mm-hmm.
de-escalation is so important.
Yeah, I mean that's how you end fights for the most part. But see, the thing is, most people when they think of martial arts, they think of Shaw Brothers. They think of people like Bruce Lee or Sonny Chiba, where they're kicking thousands of people's asses in one stroke with one special technique. But see, all that stuff is fantasy. Because when you get into a real fight, it's not going to go the way you want it to go because you practicing a certain type of style of fighting. Because just as easily you can throw a punch and bust somebody in their goddamn lip, they could bust you in your lip right back. And the way people fight these days, they don't even fight with their hands no more. They're using weapons now. They're using knives. They're using beer bottles, and some cases they're shooting.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I mean, in Santa Monica, LA. unfortunately has a homeless problem, and like a lot
Yeah.
of those homeless guys carry weapons. So it's like, oh, he mouthed off. Like homeless people mouth, they're very aggressive here in LA. Like compared to other cities, like I've been to New York a few times. I have never been harassed too much by homeless people, but like, and again, this was pre 2020. New York might have changed since 2020, but like, has it changed? Like, are homeless people more aggressive in New York now?
I'm be honest,
Mhm.
there's a lot of homeless people we have out here that has severe mental health. I
Mhm.
mean, currently I work with, the homeless population and
Mhm.
most of them got like mental health.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I'm surrounded by people with concerns every day, which I'm
Wow.
being politically correct right
Yeah.
about now. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it just our issue in New York is more with the opiates, where we got a
Oh.
lot of drug users roaming around the streets. And I'm gonna tell you, you don't want to get into a fight with a drug addict.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will literally beat your ass. Because the thing about them is they can take a hit.
Yes.
So they're not gonna feel nothing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Like in LA, homeless people mouth off all the time. And it's like, okay, let them mouth off. Like sometimes I remember this one homeless guy, he sort of got in my face and I think he was trying to see if I would fight him. And I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, have a nice day. Have a nice day. Right. Like this, I love where this conversation went because, we could talk about fighting and self-defense, but so much of self-defense is about being able to identify the situation and last
Mhm.
resort using your hands or your weapons or whatever. And people forget that so much, man.
Yeah, and that's the whole premise. You want to be able to stop it before it gets started. You know what I mean? So the fact of the matter is you got to use a lot of street smarts in order to utilize martial arts. Street smarts and martial arts go hand in hand. It's like a marriage,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
one
really
without
love
the
what you
other.
just said. It's like a marriage, street smarts and martial arts. It really is.
And a lot of I mean, there's a lot of people I've met in certain circles when I go to events, and a lot of these old school masters and young masters will sit up there and tell you, yeah, you do this technique, you do that technique, you can stop whatever situation come out. But they don't realize there's nuances to that stuff. Just because you can do a fancy technique on your student and they allow you to do it, don't mean you're going to do it to someone else that's going to let you do it. And
Yeah.
see, these are conversations me and Novell have quite often because me and him meet up, once every weekend to
That's
train.
awesome.
And we always talk about what is going on in reality. You know what I mean? Because reality is this: no one is going to allow you to do what you want to do to them. So you got to earn the right to fight, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. A story I tell people sometimes is in 2021, um, I was filming something right in the alley, right by the window where I'm right now. And I was with a guy who was like I think it was like a second or third degree jujitsu black belt, right? So
Mm-hmm.
obviously one on one on the ground, he's good. But some guy drives by when we're filming. First of all, there's no reason to even acknowledge the guy. The guy didn't bother us, but like my friend says something to him. And so now the guy wants to start something with my friend. And I just remember it like it almost escalated. Eventually, I had to step in and be like, hey, man, we're just filming. We're not trying to get in your business. But like, my friend being a jiu-jitsu black belt should have known better. Basically, what happened was he saw the guy reach into his glove compartment for some reason. So he told the guy,
Uh-huh.
he's like, dude, I saw you reach into your glove compartment. So the guy felt third. He's like, what? Oh, really? Oh, so the guy starts mouthing off to him back. And it's like, why did you have to like mouth off to that guy? He reached in his glove. So what? He's driving away. Like what? So like that was one of those incidents. I'm like, wow, for a jiu-jitsu black belt, you almost got us into a fight, man, or you almost got yourself into a fight.
Well, this is the key thing. Most people right now that's training, they're going with a fad. They figure, okay, if I train this type of style, especially like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I'm unbeatable. But there's nuances to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Yeah, you can do all that fancy stuff on the ground, but what about multiple opponents that might jump you? No one considers that. Because when you get like 10 people, maybe three, actually not even 10, that's a little exaggerated, maybe three people coming around you, you're not going to take all of them to the ground. Because once you get through taking one to the ground, the other two is left to stomp you the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or the case with my friend, right? Yes, it was just one guy in the car. There were three of us, but what if the guy has a weapon? What are you gonna do? Jujitsu him while like I just don't know what my friend was thinking. Like you saw him reach into a glove, but it wasn't like he was stopped. He was literally he kept going, but then my friend said something. Now the guy stops. Like so if the guy did have something in his glove compartment, and now you acknowledge that you saw it. Okay, so what if he took it into a fight? He pulls out a gun. Like I think about these things. It's like he's a good dude, right? But that was one of those incidents where it was just not street smart what he did.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. You gotta have awareness.
Yeah.
That's the only way to be an effective martial artist. You gotta been around the block to know
Yeah.
what's really going on.
Yeah.
And you gotta be able to properly assess the situation. And in New York, we have a thing where we're able to assess things because there's always something going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't speak for the States, but I know out here, we're always fighting.
Yeah.
Since we can get a gun as quick as everybody else, but we're always
Yeah.
assessing stuff.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because many parts of LA, because LA is a much sprawled out city and it's a very segregated city. So a lot of people, depending on the areas of LA you lived in, never had to build this awareness until now. And it's really funny that now that people have been realizing, okay, you gotta like be proactive. A lot of people, it's so funny reading the comments on community boards. People freak out over nothing. But then, like, sometimes when it's time to have your head in a swivel, they don't. Like, it's like the funniest thing. Like this type of street smarts, it takes years to develop. It really does.
What, street smarts?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about years, but it's like it's either you got it or you don't.
Oh, that's an interesting interpretation. Yeah, please go. Please keep going.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who live in my neighborhood and they never come outside. They don't even know what's going on outside. But if you're outside, you're going to automatically know from your own personal view, your own experience, what is really going on. Because some people in my community, certain individuals live in fantasy land,
Wow.
thinking that everything is okay if they do X, Y, and Z, not realize that you got to deal with the what if. So the way I see it, Jerry, you either got street smarts or you don't. And everybody got it.
That's a really very great insight you gave me, because I didn't even realize, like, I think about sheltered people here in the communities I've lived in. I didn't even realize, like, in communities that, let's say, you would usually have to go and keep your head on a swivel, there's even people in Fantasyland. That's such a valuable insight you just gave me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my own personal experience. I mean, I hang around and pretty much I'm always in the know, you know what I mean? Because I have to be in the know. This is how I live in the urban jungle, you know what I mean? Like, that's why for me, when I got into martial arts, my whole thing was personal protection. Because even I had older brothers, they couldn't really fight my fights for me. So I had to fight them myself, you know what I mean? And plus, to get respect, you got to put in work. And that's why with Man Up Stand Up, we were definitely trying to come there to not only develop on the basic skills we had, we was also putting in work so we have our own understanding how to utilize the styles that we practice. Because we had pretty much everybody from different walks of life. We had a couple of people from Harlem, and we had a couple of people from the Bronx, Queens. We even had a group from Utah.
Whoa.
Which this brother was like the only white boy that came out here.
Kelly, right? Kelly?
Cool dude, yeah.
Yeah, Kelly.
And that's my dude, man, and Kelly, man, the only white boy I could say that came out here and fought with us.
Wow.
Put in work, you know what I mean?
Wow, so he was from Utah.
Yeah, he's from Utah.
Wow.
Him and his boy Jed. I know Jed won, I think, one of the divisions that he fought in because he utilized Singi. And I know Kelly, I think, fought maybe 4 or 5 times, but he put the work in.
Yeah. Yeah. I featured Kelly in 2021, I think, or 2022. So yeah,
Mhm.
I met Kelly back in the day. And it was Cavalli that told me that he's gone way back to Man of Stand Up. So that was a pretty cool connection that I didn't even know until Cavalli told me. So yeah, shout out Kelly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the thing is too, William, was definitely one of our top, fighters in Man Up Stand Up. I mean, every fight he had, he was definitely like good under pressure. Like let's say he'll get beat up or whatever. And towards the end, he'll find some way to get up out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Wow. So tell me about your life now. Do you still bounce or have you put those days behind you?
Bouncing, I'm not doing anymore. Right now, I'm into like social services. I'm working with
Mm,
clients in the shelter, and pretty much I'm just helping them with housing at
yeah.
this. But I still, maintain my connections with certain people out in the clubs because some of my homeboys are still bouncing,
Wow.
but I'm just not out there no more. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, you're doing a good thing with social services because any city, right, there's always people unfortunately left behind by the institution. So they got to get the help they need.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm at this point. But I'm always practicing.
Yeah.
I'm always training, always trying to stay relevant because I look at it like this. This is not just a hobby. This is a lifestyle. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is something you're supposed to do on a regular
Yep. Yep.
until you do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, the the Chinese word kung fu, right? Kung fu, it literally means just persistent practice yields a skill. So you can have kung fu
Exactly.
at anything, but for martial arts, if you really want to practice kung fu, you persistently and continue to improve. That's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about kung fu and karate is it requires more time and energy and even more time until you get the skill that you're trying to be proficient at.
Yeah, exactly. The last question I have for you is you mentioned that your older brothers did Shotokan. So why didn't you jump into Shotokan? You went to Goju Ryu instead. Tell me about that.
Well, this is the thing. At the time when I decided to train, their teacher, which is my godfather, stopped teaching.
Oh,
That's the only reason why I never got into Shotokan. Other than that, I would have been a Shoto practitioner over Goju.
mm-hmm. That
Don't
makes
get me
sense.
wrong, I like Goju, but it's just Shoto had that thing where you can just be straight up aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Cool. So, David, man, you're always welcome to come back whenever if you want to do more talks. This was a very enjoyable talk, man. It's really interesting. It shows you the nuances, right? I just didn't even realize that, like, I just the funny thing I always tell people is, oh, here in Santa Monica, eventually everyone's going to get their head on a swivel. Everyone's going to realize, but like you said, no matter how bad it gets, no matter where, there's always going to be some people in Fantasyland. That's such a great insight that, like, I just forgot, people are different. And sometimes some people never get out of their Fantasyland.
Yeah, and that's just a sad reality. I mean, there's a lot of masters I know right now that swear they are like unbeatable, but yet never fought a real fight.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Never. So
Yeah.
that being said, some people will learn from their mistakes and others will not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, do you have a YouTube channel at all, or yeah? Tell me more about that.
Jerry, I got a
Mm,
YouTube channel. I
okay.
actually commented on your
Yeah.
stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
I've been
Exactly.
for years.
Yeah.
Not
Do
think
you
about it.
like? Sorry, I guess the better question is, do you put martial arts videos on that YouTube channel?
Actually, I do, but it's just recently I haven't put anything relevant. I mean, I got a lot of old videos up
Hmm.
there.
Yeah, I see from like 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's just I've been busy, very busy.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. But I'll still link your channel so people can find your channel.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, man, dude. This was a good talk. And if you ever want to do more talks like this, I'm always down. I love talking to people and just sharing knowledge and learning from people. So yeah, thank you, David.
No, thank you. I mean, thank you for giving me the opportunity to, shed some light on the, event. I mean, even though I'm surprised my event made it, to your channel, because I know you normally take stuff a bit more interesting, but I didn't think my video was that interesting.
But obviously, you saw all the views, all the comments, right? People love that stuff.
Yeah, but you know what, though, too? I mean, I get where everybody was coming from, but other than that, I appreciate you, having me on here. I mean, it's really cool. And I finally get to meet Jerry, the fight commentary guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next time you see Novell, tell him I said hi. And then I was supposed to interview him over the holidays too, but you saw my foot. My foot got messed up, so I couldn't interview him. But my foot's all good, by the way. Yeah. There's only still here.
Yeah.
There's still like a sign of the cut,
Yeah.
but so but no more swelling, nothing. But yeah, that was no, I don't know. I think I was just wearing some bad shoe, and the shoe cut my ankle really deep. Like I don't know how it happened, but I got home and there was all this blood that dried already. So like it was already cut and bleeding for a while, and I was like, oh, it's fine. My foot's bled before, but then that time it just started swelling, and I had to take antibiotics and everything. That messes up your gut. So I'm still sort of recovering from taking those antibiotics. My gut's still not 100%. So, guys, the lesson is take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. That's part of martial arts too, man. Take care of yourself. Be healthy.
Exactly. Health and wellness, and health is wealth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Cool, guys. This was Fight Commentary Breakdowns on Fight Commentary Chats, and this was Dave Harris.
Yeah. Peace.
Perfect, man. We just ended the stream.